So you follow us on Instagram. I made a quick, video to let you know that, we definitely going to be speaking on this subject here this morning on the podcast. Now, Jim Crow Clyburn is very, very proud of himself. He posted a tweet on the 27th of December, 2021 at 2:25 p.m. And what is he proud of? Is he proud of doing something for black people in South Carolina, the 6th District? Is he proud for just doing something for black people all over America? Is he proud of something like that? No. And you remember, if you go back and look into the past podcasts here on this channel, and I've done a live stream speaking about why the CBC need to be disbanded. And what I'm about to read for you and what we're going to get into, we really have to have a different mindset going into 2022 and who we're going to use more of our energy towards. So according to Jim Crow Clyburn, he says, I'm pleased that my bill, the Catawba Indian Nation Lands Act, was included in the NDAA, now which is the National Defense Authorization Act. Now you have to understand something. Every year the government signs the National Defense Authorization Act. It's supposed to be for the military, okay? But they snuck this in the bill for the military. And it said President Biden signed into law today. He said this is the first step towards rectifying the wrongs perpetuated against the Catawba Indian Nation and addressing the historical inequities that they face. Now, listen to that. So Clyburn is okay with reparations payments to others, just not black Americans. I'm going to repeat that again. Everything he just said was a reparation payment. Now, let's discuss real quick how it passed, because you need to know how this thing passed, and how they are all on code with giving something to other groups of people. Now, the bill was no different than the Asian hate crime bill. Okay. So the bill was passed by an overwhelming majority in the Senate, 89-10, and in the House, 361-55. Now in the Senate, it was sponsored by Chuck Schumer, which is the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Lindsey Graham, which is a Republican, and another Republican, Senator Tom Thiels, and Senator Richard Burr, another Republican. And in the House, it was sponsored by House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn. Okay. So just as much as they had an overwhelming response for the Asian hate crime bill, they had an overwhelming response with this particular bill. What did these people actually get in this bill? You may say, what did they get? What was, so special that they had to get this? Well, this is what it's going to do. Now, they talk about like righting a wrong and all of that. But you know what this bill is going to do? Settle a dispute and give land to this particular Indian nation. And I'm going to say a $5 Indian nation. And I'll show you why I say that here shortly. So the federal bill passed in Congress, will settle the North Carolina land dispute between two Native American tribes and allow North Carolina's newest casinos to keep operating. Now, the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians and the Catawba Nation both claim 17 acres of land in King Mountain, originally belonging to their tribe. But last week, Congress gave the force of law to Catawba ownership of the land. Now, the decision came in the form of provision in the National Defense Authorization Act that passed Congress last week. The bill funded military operations, including making improvements to 3 bases in North Carolina. But on the 905th page of the NDAA, senators took a standalone bill addressing the land and moved it into a larger military spending bill to ensure it passed, giving the land to the Catawbas, allowing the tribe to build a casino. Yes, they gave them land for a casino. When black people are suffering every day, black people had hundreds and hundreds of acres of land taken away from them. And they have not restored not a piece of land to black people, but they restored to these people. Now, continuing, they said that the bill, supporting the Catawba Indian Nation's Two Kings Casino project has now become federal law. The Catawba Nation Indian Lands Act, it's included in the NDAA, as we talked about, signed by Jim Crow Joe on Monday. It said Catawba Chief William Harris called the bill the final step in the decades-long fight to receive federal backing for the casino. Now, we go ahead and put up the picture of the board of the Catawba Indian Nation. And if you look at the board here, before I continue to go on, now, would they have traditionally told you what Native Americans really were supposed to look like? Did William Harris look like that? Does Jason Harris look that way? What about Rod Beck and Sam Beck? They look like two people that could be in Louisiana. And Dwayne Rogers here at the bottom. Okay? This the people that's running, the Catawba Indian Nation. Now, this is the thing. Go back into history. When you talk about the term $5 Indian, the reason why I use the term $5 Indian, because when the government was giving set-asides to Native Americans, white people want in on it, so they paid $5 to get their name on the rolls. And ever since they done that, they have wormed their way in there. And this is why you have people like Elizabeth Warren saying she's a Native American. And then when they run her DNA, then it exposes her. You understand? So you have a bunch of Elizabeth Warrens running around getting the bag. And Clyburn is definitely the person that helped them do this. Now, they say while the casino is under construction with the temporary facility open, there have been challenges to the Catawba's claim on the land where the casino sits, making the future uncertain. The lawsuits by the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians have kept the development in jeopardy. Now, the Cherokees claim that the land is in fact their ancestral land, but this bill should end any disputes over who the land belongs to. Now, they said the Department of Interior placed the land in a trust of the Rock Hill, South Carolina-based Catawbas in March 2020, designated the site as the tribe's aboriginal land. So they could give all this land to these people, but they can't give anything to Black Americans who truly had their land stolen from them, lands they worked for. They were terrorized off of their land. They can give reparations to everybody else. They can give federal protections to everybody else, but they can't do that to Black Americans whatsoever. And on top of all of that, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into also who these people really are and the history of these people here for a quick second, okay? So these same people that the Catawba Indians, they were slave owners, okay? So they had our ancestors enslaved. Do you understand that? They had them enslaved. So they participated in the slave trade, and yet this United States government has rewarded them with land to do whatever they want to do. Now, let's call it what it is. You mean when you hear us talk about reparations, these so-called, $5 Indian groups are getting reparations every year in the billions. They have land, they have casinos, they have reservations. But when it comes to the black man and woman, we can't do that. Matter of fact, we're not going to do that. And so what is the dilemma here? Now, we can just definitely talk about the Democrat Party, but we can't just say that, because you have to understand the Democrats and Republicans are okay with everybody else getting something, just not Black Americans. You have to understand that. They are both in unison on not giving something to Black Americans. They're on unison with not giving you the land that was stolen from you. They're on unison and on code with each other to not give reparations. But yet you have not made the Democrat Party suffer. Now, why I bring up the Democrat Party? Because that's the party that many of you who may come and listen to this podcast believe in like a freaking religion. Okay. You fight with family members about this party. You shame black people to vote for this party. You shame black people if they choose not to vote. You're the only one that looks at voting like a freaking religion when you are voting to get everybody else land, tangibles, and come ups, protection, everything you vote for, and you get nothing, making you a proverbial slave. Slaves are only meant to make the master and anybody else the master want to get along with lives better. Like on a plantation, when the master had guests come in, the slaves had to tend to the guests too, in every way, shape, and form. Cook, clean, do a lot of relations and anything else that the guests wanted to do with the slaves. And many of you politically continue to be in the same position that you were on the plantation, but this time it's by choice. You're not being forced. This time it's by choice. So going into 2022, I'm going to have to say this. We're going to have to spend a little bit more time on the Jim Clyburns and a little bit less time on some of the white supremacists. I'm going to tell you why. We can go at the white supremacists all day, but if you have the Clyburns cutting our throats, you know, they're cutting us and sabotaging us from the rip. When you have the Mark Morales of the Urban League, when you have the Reverend Al Sharptons of the National Action Network, when you have the NAACP, when you have these kind of people being up there just happy with seeing 22 members of Biden's cabinet black and say that's progress, when 40 million plus black people are suffering, we're going to have to spend more time of getting them out the way. We will have to spend more time of delegitimizing them, pushing back on them, having a message you do not speak for black people because you're speaking for yourself. Because you're truly speaking for black people, they would want to talk to you. If you're not about reparations, if you're not about making black people whole, you're not about giving black people land, if you're not about giving black people a federal hate crime protection status, if you're not about that, then you need to get out the way. And if you're not going to get out of the way, we need to apply the pressure to you. And I say this should be the standard operating procedure for all of us going into 2022. We could talk about Biden all day. We could talk about the Democrats or the white liberal all day long. We can do that, but it's kind of futile at this point, because when you have the Clyburns and the whole CBC cutting our throats, no other group deals with this issue. Do you understand that? No other group. Show me the group that they have their politicians going in and sabotaging the progress in their community. I haven't found one group that have a big, huge amount of politicians in their community sabotaging them. They all on code about what they want to do. You would think that all black people would be on reparations. You would think all black people would be on a federal hate crime protection for black people. You would think they all would be on code to making sure that all these laws get changed that's harming, black people. But no, because all it takes for the Negro is just give me a check, make sure I'm good. And listen, hey, to keep sabotaging black folks, hey, I'll give you a check. The white supremacists have no problem giving you a check. They'll give you a check to harm black people. It's no issue or no problem. But black people going to have to do something about it, and we're going to have to deal with not only the politicians, but we're going to have to deal with their supporters. And I'm talking about some people in your own family I'm talking about who say, oh, they're okay. No, they're not okay. We're sitting up there and watching them give everything to everybody, and this whole CBC is right along with them, and they're cool with it. They voting for it, every bit of it. They have not taken one stand for black people and say, hey, well, if you're going to give land to these people, then you need to give land to black Americans. I mean, it's a lot of land that they lost, and it's a lot of land that's not even being inhabited in this country. You need to give them their land. But no, they're not going to do that because your politicians don't say nothing. How can we say something sometime about some things fighting for the black community when our own politicians don't say nothing? They say nothing. And all of your politicians is on this Democrat drumbeat, talking about only what the Democrats want to talk about, not what you want to talk about, but what the Democrats want to talk about. Now, right now they talking about, oh, voting rights, this, voting rights. Listen, voting rights don't give you a tangible. I'm just being honest with you. You done had your voting rights, what, for, I guess, 50 years or so. What have you done with it? What have you really done with your voting rights as a community? What, vote for people that gave everybody else something while you sitting there just looking silly? Now, let me ask you this question. Let's talk about something else. What should you do with the situation? What would be the respectable thing to do, right? Because you allow people to disrespect you as a whole community. You don't make no one politically pay for crossing you. See, what other groups do, and especially the Jewish community, you cross the Jewish community if you want to. You go ahead. You try to say the Holocaust didn't happen. You try to talk down on their religion. They're going to make you pay economically and politically. Let's go back to Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon crossed them, and for a year he was apologizing. That's power. We can enact the same thing. If anybody says something about negative about slavery or our history, we need to make them pay, no matter who they are. I don't care if they're another black person, if they're an immigrant, if they white, no matter who they are. That's showing power when we do that. And stick to the guns and have them on an apology tour for a whole year for disrespecting us. But what would be the respectable thing to do? What could we do to get back at Clyburn, right? It's about getting back at Clyburn. So the first thing you want to do to get back at Clyburn is in 2022, in the midterms, is your time to make your voice heard. Okay. Those of you in South Carolina, in the 6th district, we are depending on you to make the black community's voice heard. I can't vote in that election. I can't. But those of you who are in the 6th district, you can vote in that election. Okay. Now, we have, from what I researched, 2 candidates that are on the Democrat side and one on the Republican side running against Clyburn. Now, one of the young men I have interviewed, and the young brother, Marcel Dixon, we interviewed with us, and the interview will be posted to our African Diaspora News channel platform. And I will say, after just my assessment, after listening to the young brother and talking to him and hearing what he had to say, and when you see the interview, I think you may come across with this as well. I read everything he said on Ballotpedia. I read what he want to fight for. I got to talk with the brother, in the interview and even behind the scenes on the interview. And I think the young brother should be given a chance. Let's say something else about that too. When y'all was running out there to go vote, y'all had this attitude, anybody but Trump. Well, can y'all get this attitude, anybody but Clyburn? Can y'all have that attitude? If you did it about Trump, and that didn't work out well for us anyway. It worked out well for everybody else. Everybody else getting a bag. And in my next podcast, I'm going to cover the bags everybody been getting and set asides and benefits everybody been getting from this administration within a year. Every time you talk about something, George Floyd bill, well, we can't do that. I mean, it fell apart with the Republicans. We can't do it. You want to talk about voting rights. You want to focus on that. Notice they want to talk about voting rights, so they don't want to talk about that George Floyd bill. Most of the people that came to vote for that party was talking about George Floyd and talking about getting rid of the qualified immunity. And black folks should have knew then when Biden said that he don't agree with getting rid of qualified immunity, you should have known the okie doke was there and you should have sat your behind at home. But because that you're so scary, some of you're scary. Oh, you're scared when you deal with that open white supremacist. You like that liberal white supremacist, the one that's gonna smile in your face but feel just like the one that's out there in the streets with them Trump flags. That's kind of what it is. A lot of you are scary. A whole lot of you are scared. It doesn't make no sense how scared you are. These people gonna do what they're gonna do regardless. Why don't you get the courage of your ancestors and do something different? But the way we're going to have to do this is you got to help that brother be better the primary Clyburn. We will have to lean on the brothers and sisters in South Carolina and say, hey, we need y'all to step up. We need the young people to get registered to vote. See, I don't have no problem with voting when it's done for a reason. You understand what I'm saying? And Clyburn is so treacherous, and he's on a ballot right now. Let me tell you something. If you get Clyburn out the paint, it will send a message to the CBC right then and there and say, you know what? We coming for you because y'all have sold us out. You done something for everybody else except the black community, and you need to go. It is time. And this is what we need all, like Julius Malema said. He said about the EFF, if you're not registered to vote and being in EFF, I don't want you in here. He said, how could you benefit the EFF and you can't even vote? And I agree with Malema 100%. So if you're not registering to vote in your area and knowing where, these bootlicks are on the ballot at, because in my opinion, all of them should go. All of them should go. All of them. I'm going so far to say this. I would like them to be replaced by another brother or sister that's about the business. But I don't care if they're replaced by another group of people. I don't even care. At least they're not in there. I don't care if a Republican replaces them. You know why I don't care? Because you wasn't doing nothing for me either. Or black people. You wasn't doing crap for black people. I don't care if a Republican replace you or another black person in the Democrat Party replace you, but the black person is going to replace you. They better be speaking like what we say to speak on, or you're not going to get the support. So we got a whole year, brothers and sisters, a whole year to bang on that drum about Clyburn. We got to stay on Clyburn, and we got to find out all the Congressional Black Caucus members that's on the ballot for 2022. And we got to stay on them, find out who's running against them on Ballotpedia, and we got to push against them. And I need y'all in y'all communities to push the young people to get registered to vote, because we can't depend on, unfortunately, we can't depend on the 50 and ups. I'm not saying all of you. I'm not saying all, but I'm only going on factually speaking. The Democrat strategists know their base, that's the most loyal to them, is the 50 and up. So we need the younger people and those of you who are 50 and up who really believes in what we're talking about. Those of you who believe like Dr. Claude Anderson and those brothers like that who's still in the fight in the trenches. We're talking about you, right? We need y'all to register to vote and get Clyburn out. I need y'all to get this right now. Go. You got a whole year. Find out how do you be eligible and go do that. We can't sit up here and make these videos about Clyburn all day. We can't make these videos about the CBC all day, and you're not willing to go do what you got to do to get these people out. Because yes, I could talk about it and everybody else could talk about these people, but then you just kind of on the hamster wheel at that point. You understand? You just spinning your wheels and you complain and complain and complain about these people. But when it's time to go get them out and you got the opportunity to get them out, you don't go do it. So we need to see in 2022, we need to see major upsets. We need to see tears, because what this administration has done with the assistance of the Congressional Black Caucus, they have assisted Biden in giving all these people tangibles. And they should be the first ones. They should be the first ones that when we go to that voter booth, they say, oh no, you out of here. You got to go. You have to go. I prefer them to be primary, so you don't have to deal with them in the general election. That would be the best thing to do. But if for some reason they have to deal with the general election, I'm even willing to say right now, I'd rather a Republican to get in there and a Republican to replace them. I know some of you that still got that raccoon gene in you, because sometimes it's deep in you. Oh my Lord. Oh no, I can't vote for no Republican. Phil, what you talking about? Okay, if you're so scary about that, just go ahead on and just chill your nerves that day. At least do that much. Because my thing is, I'm about making them, just let them know that it was done purposely to get them out the paint. Then, of course, well, what are the Republicans going to do for us? Not expecting them to do a whole lot. But you know what? If they get in there, I can put pressure on them. We can put pressure on them to do something, right? We can. But you rather the Democrats get in, at least the Republicans, they're not going to be giving all these tangibles to all these other groups. They're not going to do that. I know that much about them. Now, they cool with you if you cool with them and talking like them, they'll be cool with you, right? But the Democrats will use our votes, get political power, and everybody gets a bag except us. And for you, that's okay. That's okay to you. That's not okay to me. And I'm going to tell you this much. We got so much time to get to fix this issue, because a lot of people will just get tired and say, you know what? Okay, well, that's, I'm going to do my own thing over here, and I'm bowing out the situation. People get tired, including me. Collectively, we're losing. And it's not that we're losing because we just getting beat up and we can't fight back. We can't do nothing. No, that's not the reason why we're losing. We're losing because we have a group of people who scared, another group of people who don't want to do nothing for themselves but depend on the white man. They don't want to do for themselves. Another, the politicians that we have feel the same way. So they will sabotage any black progress. The only time black people get progress unless they get in the street and cause $1 billion worth of damage. That's really the only time they get progress. You understand? But even though that gets tiresome, why they got to go that far? Why does it got to go to the point that you out there in the streets taking risk like that? Taking risks and go to prison, taking risks of getting killed, when you can literally do this politically without even doing that. You can do so much on a non-violent tip that would get at them a lot better than some of that. That is like an extreme last measure, to be honest with you. It's an extreme last measure to get to that point. The easiest thing for you to do, the easiest thing, is to get your behind registered to vote and understand everybody that's on the ballot that's coming up in 2022 in that Democrat Party, especially the CBC. That's the ones, especially them. And they need to go. Could you imagine that many CBC members would go? Could you imagine the tone? Could you imagine they'd be like, what the hell happened? What happened here? Why all these CBC members are gone now? They're gone. And the ones that would be left, then that's when you step up to them and say, do what we tell you to do, or you out of here too. Because matter of fact, we know your election coming up next year too. And we're going to be right there to get you out too. So either do what the black community tell you to do, not no Democrat Party, do what we telling you to do, or you out of there too. We are willing to let all of you go and all of you be replaced with anybody else just because you have crossed us. Listen, we don't need people who are going to sabotage our progress. We don't need that. Listen, I'd rather get all the saboteurs out, and then we could fully deal with the white supremacists without being sabotaged. Listen, we could fight the white supremacists. We have made good headway fighting the white supremacists, but we have not taken our energy to get rid of the saboteurs. If we get rid of the saboteurs first, then we can give our full 100% energy to the white supremacists. And when we give our energy to the white supremacists, you know good and well the white supremacists is going to back down in a lot of ways and concede. You know that. When black folks in the street with George Floyd, these folks want to give you money. But because we didn't have our game tight with all these saboteurs all over the place, right? This is how a lot of the money was taken away from the black community with these little groups, because we didn't have all the saboteurs out of place. So we got to get the saboteurs out politically. We got to call out the saboteurs who are activists, because you have some activists out here that are saboteurs as well. They come out here, all they rah-rah about black people, but they sitting down and making dinners with white liberals, getting all the money. Patrice Cullors. So in 2022, we got a whole year to spotlight these people. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. We going to deal with a lot of pushback with that. You know, you're going to deal with the Boule Martins and all of that. And Boule Martin got to get that work too. Anybody that steps up to us, tries to stop us, try to be against us, calling out these saboteurs and saying they need to get out of the paint, they need the heat too. If it's Joy Reid, if it's whoever it is, they got to get it. So if Roland want to step up, let him be the crash dummy to step up. But everybody need to come at him, and don't let off of him either when people are coming at these people. You understand? When we coming at these people, because even platforms like this one, we definitely gonna need your support. Just like with projects like our end of the year fundraiser, where we have to depend on the people to support our platform. We don't have corporate sponsors. What we talk about here isn't the most popular thing. We're not going to get these big brand deals. Everyone that advertises with us is people within the community, and even certain black people don't even want to advertise with us because they feel, and I quote, we are not a good fit because we're talking a little bit too, for the black community. We're not on this people of color and kumbaya. We were talking about because we're losing in America. You understand? We're losing. And how long do you want to lose? How long you want to be on the team where everybody benefits off of you, that benefits off of your vote, they benefit off your culture, everybody getting a bag off of you. Everybody. At least get a bag off yourself, right? So we need to make sure to keep fighting. And the only way we can do that is with your support. So I definitely, if it's your first time coming here, thank you for coming to our podcast. We greatly appreciate you to do so. And make sure you go and check out that interview that we are posting with Marcel Dixon, the young man who is running against Clyburn. Because like I said, we can't complain on Clyburn if we're not going to support the people that's running against him. Like I said before, if you had that attitude, anybody but Trump, then you need to have the attitude, anybody but Clyburn at this point. Because ain't nobody doing worse than Clyburn. And this last stunt that Clyburn pulled with a group that enslaved our ancestors, the Catawbas enslaved our ancestors. They made sure enslavers got a bag. That is despicable. That is wrong. So we got to keep the pressure up on Clyburn and making sure that he and many others get out of there in 2022. So make sure you click the like button. And once again, make sure you subscribe to this, podcast, because we're going to be bringing more and more podcasts, on this channel. And thank you for listening, and see you next time.